Great morning. Great morning. It is 8:33 p.m. on Sunday. So great evening, great Sunday evening, everyone. This is Catherine Beasley coming to you with another edition of our little talk that we're having here about um, caring for your loved one with dementia or Alzheimer's. And so today's topic will be about when your loved one wants to go home, right? They're already home. You're either caring for them in their own home or they've moved in with you and are now at home with you, and yet um, they constantly want to go elsewhere, think that they're supposed to be elsewhere, that others are waiting for them, that there are things that they should be doing. And so you want to know how to handle that, or maybe have some questions on how to handle that. And one of the instances, or not one, my mom would do this oftentimes, feel like there was somewhere for her to be. She had to be home to take care of her mom. I think we spoke about this already, right? Um, and so she was worried about not being home with her mother and getting in trouble because she didn't go home yesterday or the day before, right? She spent however many consecutive days away from home. And so now she's worried about the fact that her mom's by herself, or she's going to get in trouble for not coming home. And she's been being disrespectful, and that she doesn't want to do that to her parents. And so, one of the things that I've learned now, and after the fact, during, but after the fact specifically, is that we want to look for some triggers around that. Oftentimes it's driven by a purpose that they may have had, or a sense of abandonment. And I mentioned my mom feeling like maybe she was abandoning her mom, or even abandonment by someone, wondering why her family just left her. In my care versus um, coming to get her or having her be able to go home. And so we want to identify what may be a trigger for that behavior. Did something happen? Is there an unmet need that she has? Like she needs to maybe go to the restroom, or if for my mom, it was having a sense of purpose is true, right? She's used to being out and around people and doing things. And then she was here with me where it wasn't so much for her to do. The main concern was her safety and keeping her well. And so that meant being here with me, but now she's not in her own circle and in her own element any longer. There isn't much for her to do while she's here. So now she's bored in essence, and so she's just sitting there, and again still trapped in her own mind as well. So when you have a loved one who was very active and participated in a lot of different activities, or was in charge um, of outings, and I was listening to a training even earlier today, and this came up with a woman who, her family used to always go to the Ohio State games, and they would tailgate, and they would come into town and cook. It was like a huge thing. And so they would come into town and she'd cook and prepare for them. Then they'd tailgate and have a good time. She was in charge of having the tickets, right? And so one of the reasons why she would often want to go home was because she had to prepare for those instances and be there to do the cooking, make sure that they had the food, to have the tickets available for them to all to attend the game, to hang out with her family and go to the tailgating event. And because of that, whenever talking about Ohio State to her and the things that she used to do, it would trigger an episode for her to be trying to go and get out into the world, right? To go do those things that she used to do, even though we were all past that time. I mean, she was in a nursing home as well. And so the nursing home attendants would try to talk to her about past experiences, keep her engaged, except that those experiences would then trigger episodes of her being back in that time frame and her need to do those same things. So you want to be mindful and try to investigate what it is that that triggers those behaviors, and maybe you unfortunately have to stop talking about certain things that set them on that tangent, and try to figure out other ways to engage with them than those instances that really take them back to a time that then cause agitation for them because they are not able to do the things that they used to do. um, and it's hard, right? Because you want to make sure that you're trying to engage them in things that brought them joy, but at the same time, the other side of that is that their inability to do those things no longer actually brings them sadness, makes them anxious, triggers some level of agitation in them, and now you have to correct that behavior, or at least soothe them so that they are less agitated. Um, my mom would try to leave, like she'd pack and she'd pack most random things in her purse and put on whatever was in her hand at the moment, or near her at the moment, and then just try to walk out the door. And then she'd see how dark it was or not recognize where she was outside, so she'd come back in, but then she'd actually um, get sad and break down. Like, I'd never seen my mom cry as much as I have or had during towards the end of her disease, because right, the emotional trauma that she's going through, and the things that really she doesn't understand, it just would make her sad, and she ended up crying about it, and it broke my heart to hear crying. um, and it was also a little weird because right, when she doesn't know who I am, and then she is, when I try to hug her and console her, it felt like I felt like she would accept it, but she didn't feel as comfortable with it. So then I try not to touch her as much, or try to make sure it was okay for me to touch her before I did so. So it's very interesting. But you want to do all of those things, right? Identify if there's an unmet need. Are they hungry? Did we miss a scheduled time that they were supposed to be doing something, and so now they're a little thrown off and agitated? Right? Are they having constipation issues and maybe they need to go to the restroom? Could be issues, or yeah, instances that trigger certain behavior in them. But you want to always make sure that you have a journal planner to document these things, so that you're having a record of episodes and what you can look for, so that you understand that maybe this will be triggering, or this instance of an activity might trigger this certain behavior, and so maybe you want to twist that around and not have that activity take place, right? So knowing what the contributing factors are to the behavior that you are trying to avoid, it would be very helpful for you. So you want to keep track of those things. And a journal is a really great way of being able to do that and refer back to those instances as well. I know my memory is just not what it used to be. And so trying to just remember those things instead of having written them down wouldn't have worked very well for me. So we always want to make sure that we're always looking for the underlying behavior, underlying activity that may cause the behavior that we're trying to avoid, so that we can prepare for future episodes. So take that in mind. Take the time to think about some of the things that you note, right? Or that you can remember that have happened prior to the episodes that you may have already experienced, so that it'll prepare you for how to deal with it in the future. Have a great evening, everyone. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.